first of many videos, we hope, featuring the Daewoo rifle. I'm Derek, our production assistant is Dan, and this is Daewoo Rifle Parts TV, or interwebs as you may prefer. Today, our first Daewoo video, and hopefully the introduction or your introduction to Daewoo video, since we happen to have three of all three types here, is how to install the DaewooRifleParts.com pistol grip on your DR200 or DR300. The pistol grips are U.S. made. They're made in Texas at a small molding shop. They're the same ones sold by a gentleman named Lionel Lynn on the internet. I sell them on DaewooRifleParts.com at a slight markup, and because they're made at a small run job shop, they are hard to get all three types all at the same time. So we just happen to get lucky enough to have all three types, and we'll walk you through the types, and you can know why they're called what they are. This is the original type. You'll notice it's narrower at the top than the bottom. It is almost a dead nuts copy of the original type angle and type pistol grip found on the pre-89 Daewoo K1s and derivatives and K2s and derivatives. It is the closest to the original copy. It's made just for the DR200, and it will fit none of the pre-89 rifles. Pre-89 rifles have a different pistol grip at the top, and it has a nested blind hole for the recoil spring, something, or for the detent spring, something we'll be going through in a different video how those come apart. They're very, very much like an AR. This is the slim grip. As its name implies, it is much narrower than the original. It is perfect for those with small hands, small stature, or the kidlets. And you'll see this one DR200 lower I have here with a collapsible buttstock adapter and M4 type stock on it is one we set up just for the children that we built from parts, believe it or not. This one is the LL2 type, or the HK type, and you can see it has molded in finger grooves and a thumb rest. It is right hand only. It's very comfortable contoured grip, right hand only. You see from the finish work up here that these are mostly hand done from vinyl molds. They're not real pretty, but they are super functional, and they do exactly what they need to do. They do count as one U.S. part for your 922R parts count, which we will go through in another video, how to make your DR200 300 922R compliant, and that will feature how to change the pistons, how to change the fake flash hider, and everything else. You get a little bit of wind here. It's the 21st of May in 2015, and it's already 88 degrees out here in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, or actually the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? We have a bone stock DR200, complete with ugly ass thumbhole stock. You'll know, if you know or you don't know the history behind these guns. This was the modified, neutered, and made liberal-friendly version of the rifles after George Bush, using executive actions, no Congress required, I guess, if you're a lifetime member of the NRA, banned 19 types of rifles from import by name and 150 types by characteristic. Of course, what little conservative press there was back then didn't have anything to say about arbitrary dictatorial executive actions taken on behalf of a Republican president. So, alas, I digress. In order to change the thumb hole stock out to a pistol grip, you of course want to make sure the weapon's clear and visually inspect that chamber, boys and girls, because you can't recall those rounds once they are discharged, even if you didn't mean them to be. You need to flip the little lock here on the takedown lever, what amounts to takedown lever, and then you push the whole thing forward. It's all striated and checkered here, so you push it forward. You split the upper from the lower. You remove the very AK-esque recoil set, and you can pull the charging handle straight out of its hole, and the bolt and carrier come out like that. And then you want to wiggle the front and push, just like an AR. You can take the upper off of the lower. Now, what the Koreans did in order to get the rifle brought into the country, other than put the thumbhole stock on it and remove the bayonet lug from the gas block or triple frame if you're an HK aficionado, and solder on the fake flash hider, was they actually redesigned the entire lower to accommodate this monstrosity. And I know some people are like, wow, it's actually really comfortable for a thumbhole stock. And you know what? It is really comfortable for a thumbhole stock, but it's still uglier than a mud fence, and you know it, and I know it, and so let's not lie to each other. This ugly thing is held on through a large screw which goes through the buffer ring, and a large screw which goes down through here into what would be the pistol grip part of it. In 1993, on the verge of the infamous 10-year 94 assault weapon ban under Bill Clinton, the Handgun Control Incorporated, bunch of gun-hating liberal retards, chose to sue the Clinton administration, saying that the thumbhole stock rifles were close enough to a pistol grip to qualify for a pistol grip. And overnight, all those Mac 90s and thumbhole stock Galils and DR200s and 300s and SR 9s from HK and all those went from being legal to import to being illegal to import. And that's such is the nature of gamesmanship and political theater, because of course the Clinton administration wasn't going to sue to preserve the law as it was written. Actually, it wasn't even law, it was executive dictate. So the Koreans redesigned this, so you got to get out of this. The buffer ring on the pre-89 guns is actually much smaller because they don't have a great big screw going down through the center of it. So in order to get down to this screw, you have to not fight the hammer. So the first thing we want to do is rotate the god-awful 180-degree selector to semi-auto, control the hammer on its way down, and then we want to punch out that hammer pin using a punch. It's just like an AR. It pushes straight through. The hammer pin and trigger pin on a Daewoo is it's exactly 1 inch long, made out of the same material, same diameter, same grooves, same edge breaks as an AR hammer and trigger pin. The design borrowed some from AR, but not enough to keep them from being sued by Colt, which they were when they introduced this rifle back in the early 80s, maybe even 79. So to take this thing off, we need to get down here and get this screw out, which you can use a large-sized screwdriver. They are combination screws. This is not an ATI video, so these screws are not pre-loosened. These are exactly as you see them coming out of the weapon. The plastic is a kind of a low-density polyethylene, so it threads well, and it's kind of sticky, so it holds threads well. And yours may not come out this easy. This one is as it came from the factory when it was imported over 20 years ago, and you get them all cranked out to about there, and you just pull them out. You see, it's a pretty substantial screw. Now, if you'll pan up here a little bit, I'll show you how why we needed to remove the hammer. We needed to remove the hammer so we can get to this screw, and without doing one of these and stripping it. And you got to push down on it a little bit and get the thing to come out. And you have to use the right screwdriver above all. The right tools make all the difference, and you will see this in these videos. I always go in the shop and get the right tools, even if it means that we have to take a cut and make an edit. One thing I want to caution you here, when we get this off, you'll notice that it just flops around. There's nothing holding it on. That's just how it was. There's the other screw. You'll see it's a combination head. It'll take a large flat screwdriver or a large, I think that's a number 1 sized. If I remember my Phillips screwdriver terminology correctly, I believe that's a number 1 size Phillips screw. This is what's left. If you need one, I have a bunch. If they burned, I would have burned them in the fireplace a long time ago in protest. Anyway, while we've got this thing apart, it's probably a good time to show you the 90-degree selector. 90-degree selector, unlike the 180-degree selector, as its name implies, doesn't require the sweep. The original pre-89 guns, they still had a 180-degree selector because all the military Daewoo rifles are burst guns. They're safe, semi, full, and burst. And so the selectors go 360 degrees. In another video, I'll show you one of my full auto ones that has a sear trip up here, a cross hole through here, and a whole bunch of indecipherable mechanical whatchamacallits in there, which I don't even take apart because God help me if I break them, because there's no parts available for them. So anyway, that's the miserable 180-degree selector. It swings the wrong way on purpose because it had to clear that thumbhole stock. So what we're going to do while we've got this part, is we'll show you how the 90-degree selectors come out and how that works. On the pre-89 guns, the 90-degree selector fits in by simply removing the bolt, removing the pistol grip, and then a detent flops out on the side, just like an AR. It's actually the exact same detent and the exact same screw. On the DR200, they wanted to make sure that detent stayed in there. So you need a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, and you remove the set screw, careful not to lose it, and then you dump the stuff out of it. And you'll notice this is an abbreviated version of the larger selector detent that's in an AR-15. It's shortened by about a third, and then they use this little crappy piece of cut spring, and that's what they use to select this. If you have a DR200 and you want to lighten your selector impulse, so you don't have to push it so hard or it's not so rough, you can loosen or tighten that set screw, or you can pull the spring out and snip a coil off of it, and that will help you quite a bit. So now see here we've already taken the hammer out, so it makes it a lot easier to take this out. And so it comes straight out. With the 90-degree selector, it can be installed, the DRP 90-degree selector can be installed one of two ways. You can install it this way, the regular right-handed shooter, which means you just reach up with your thumb and flip it just like an AR, or you can install it for wrong-handed people. I'm going to get angry emails now from left-handed people. How dare you call us wrong-handed? You're abnormal. You know that. I know that. I'm left-handed, so I know that. So instead of installing it the proper way, you can install it this way. And so rather than increase our production cost, you'll see all the stuff stayed in there that time. It didn't even fall out. We chose a convertible selector so that we didn't have to make an ambi selector. An ambi selector would have easily doubled our production costs. And that's what that looks like, just like that. So now it's set up for wrong-handed people. Nice smooth transition. If you don't like the transition, you just tighten the screw up maybe a quarter of a turn or half a turn, and then see if it makes you happy. So that's how that goes. So let's look at installing the pistol grip on a bone stock DR200. First thing I'm going to do is put everything back in so I don't lose it. We're outside, so if any of this stuff hits the ground, it's G-O-N-E, and I will have to go to my tackle boxes full of parts and fetch replacements, which I'd rather not do. So we'll finish putting this back in here, and that works like it's supposed to. So we take our pistol grip. Most of these pistol grips that we're shipping from Daewoo Rifle Parts are shipped with a 2.5 inch long cap screw. It's a 1/4 thread, 2.5 inch long. It's come to our attention that some of them may be too long. You see the way this one's dressed on the end. I knocked about 3/8 of an inch off of it. This is a 2 inch. This is a 2.5 inch. It's been cut to about 2.25 inch. Unfortunately, we can't seem to find 2.25 inch ones. I believe they only make them on the 1/2 inch margins. So if you get one that's too long, don't force it if the bolt hits the front of the pistol grip, because eventually you'll tighten it up to the point where it breaks the pistol grip, and that's not covered under warranty. My suggestion would be go to your local hardware store, pick up a 1/4 cap screw just like that, by 2 inches long. The length is measured under the head, and you can just drop them right in. Now the way to put the thing in there is you take the bolt, drop the bolt through the hole. Take this particular type of cap screw takes a 3/16. 3/16 Allen wrench, and then we have these little flare nuts with the little locking scallops on the bottom. The trick to it is putting the locking nut on your finger and putting it up near the hole, he says confidently as he drops it on the floor. Put it up right against the hole. Then you put the whole thing against the lower. So you see how I got my finger in there holding the nut inside there up against the aperture as it comes through the pistol grip. Let me turn the thing around the right way, slide the pistol grip on. It should fit just fine. And then while you're kind of moving that around in there, let the nut fish it. I've already caught the threads. I can feel it turn it. And once the bolt comes through the hole, pull your finger off the middle of the hole, and just hold your fingernail against one of the flats of the nut, just to keep it from rotating to the point where the scallops start locking into the rest. Alright, well we had a little camera issue, so we're going to do a cut shot and back to this. Well, like I said, you saw me tighten the thing up. Hold your finger against the flat, or your fingernail against the flat of the nut. And then, bug crawling in my hat here. And then you can tighten it up. Just snug it up. It doesn't need to be tightened so tight that you crack it. These are resin. So you don't want to horse the thing on there because they're not 10 bucks like an AR pistol grip. They're 60 bucks. Like a Daewoo pistol grip. So anyway, that's the end of the video. Sorry about the mild interruption. And we'll move on to the second video right now. Well, it's going to seem a little disjointed, but what I'm doing right now is I'm putting the selector back for proper-handed people. Once again, I'm bracing for the tirade of angry emails, and I wanted to make sure that you guys knew something. We had originally agonized quite a lot over how well the aluminum, once we went from a 3-piece expensive steel selector to a 1-piece aluminum selector, was going to fare. I think if you zoom in on that, Dan, you can see that this is aluminum, a hard anodized aluminum coated with Duracoat. That's why it's gray, to match the rifle. All the ones I sell on DaewooRifleParts.com are. And you'll see that's a few thousand engagements and disengagements. I see it's not particularly worn. You can see where it's worn into the aluminum, but it's not terrible. While I'm talking about that, I'm going to put that back on here and put it back in properly. Now, one of the things you'll find when you're putting on the 90-degree selector in is that you'll have to remove that hammer pin in order to get the trigger to go down far enough to get it to clear. You also may encounter something that some folks complained about where the coating was too thick. Real simple. Just put some oil on it and work it in. You know, they're painted. They're not going to get looser or tighter over time. They're only going to get looser over time. So just drop a little bit of oil on it, put it on in there, and you'll be fine. So once again, because that may or may not, the first time we did it may or may not make it the final edit because we had camera overheat issues. Take the flange nut, put it on your finger, he says, hoping he will not drop it this time, and just put it in the bottom of the pistol grip. Slide it onto the receiver, and with the handy dandy 3/16 Allen wrench, you want to push down through that hole until you fish the threads. Once you've got it on the threads, you hold it in place, and then you can pretty much feel when it's on there. You know, 28 threads per inch threads are fairly fine, and you can feel once they start, they're nice and smooth, and they engage, and you can feel the pistol grip tightening up. One further thing I'd like to note. Let's finish taking this off. Occasionally, if you have a DR200 or 300, you will find that the pistol grip doesn't want to tighten up all the way. You'll end up with a little gap like that. And that simply is because the set screw that we showed you earlier, the 2.5 millimeter set screw that controls the tension for the selector, is protruding slightly out past this level. If that happens, you can see right here, there's a little screw cut on the pistol grip. And what you can do, depending on your level of comfort, is you can either take that set screw out and just trim the top of it a little bit with some sandpaper or belt sander very gently or whatever, or you can take a Dremel and just barely hog the surface of this. You don't have to get too deep, and of course you don't want to break through the side, but you want to relieve this just a teeny bit, and then you won't have any issues with it. And when you put the pistol grip on like so, you won't get the gap. People don't like the gap. I don't blame them. I like things to fit well, like they were made for it. And these pistol grips were made for these guns, and there's no reason why they shouldn't fit that way. With that, we will wrap up video number 1. Please like or dislike or don't like or subscribe or don't subscribe or whatever. I really don't care. Enjoy and keep watching.